A title appears, Engaging New Members. A logo, NSVRC, National Sexual Violence Resource Center. A graphic appears. Anna Price, Lead Advocate, Deaf Unity, Wisconsin. She signs as a person off-screen interprets.
So SART teams often involve law enforcement, SANE nurses, sexual assault nurse examiners, as well as judges, if you're lucky, victim advocates from different programs, whether that's Latina, Hmong, will often be involved in the SART teams. I am the one SART representative who's deaf from the deaf community.
Jessica Mindlin, National Director of Training and Technical Assistance, Victim Rights Law Center, Oregon.
One of the challenges that SARTs confront now and need to address going forward, or starting today, is who's on that SART. And when I say who's on it, I mean the fact that so often the voices that are at the table, the professionals that are sitting in those conversations, don't reflect the survivor community that they're intended to serve.
Sarah Deer, Professor of Law, University of Kansas, Kansas.
A SART in some communities could include a defense attorney, and sometimes people don't necessarily think, well, why would a defense attorney be part of a SART? There's several reasons why that might be important. One, you might have a lot of survivors in that community who are actually charged with a crime. Maybe they were using drugs during the assault or prior to the assault. And that defense attorney knows that he or she needs to be able to articulate the rights of that particular defendant in that circumstance. And even if they're not representing victims, understanding what needs to be in place in order to adequately collect evidence that would be used in a prosecution, a defense attorney can be very insightful because they're often going to be the ones to challenge the evidence. So their inclusion on a SART might actually end up benefiting the project altogether. As an example, in a tribal community, say you have a spiritual leader who is involved in the SART in order to provide those services to a victim in that community. Sometimes they need specialized training. Just the fact that they're a spiritual leader doesn't necessarily mean they have the knowledge about what happens in the aftermath of sexual assault. And so what that kind of training might do is then provide that traditional leader with more knowledge that can do outreach into the community. They're ready, even if a case doesn't come into the system per se, that traditional leader, traditional spiritual healer person could engage with survivors outside the scope of the SART itself, and that can only benefit the community in the long run.
Lina Huarbe Botella, WOCN Senior Director, Women of Color Network Incorporated, Pennsylvania.
When we bring other members into the SART that are not the usual 4 groups that we've talked about, it is important that we just really keep in mind what we should be asking ourselves is what is important to survivors? Who holds them up? Who supports them on a regular basis? And whomever that leads you to as a SART member, then that's what we need at the table. So it might be their pastor, it might be someone that they come in contact at school, whomever they define as community, that person should have a seat at the table.
Annika Leonard, Founding Director, Priceless Insight, Wisconsin.
The information that we bring is valuable, and so when we're able to bring it and to have it received in a way that honors our voices and our experiences, then that makes all of the responses better.
Amanda Tonkovich, LMSW, New Orleans Sexual Assault Response Team Coordinator and Therapist, New Orleans Family Justice Center, Louisiana.
I think engaging with diverse partners just makes us more creative. It makes us more sensitive to different communities and different issues, and it just helps us to look outside the box and also, I think, have that level of accountability. I think it's easy in a closed group to kind of get one tracked, but in this open group, you're not just accountable to the direct people you work with, you're accountable to the whole community.
A quote appears. We should be asking ourselves what is important to survivors, who holds them up, who supports them on a regular basis. Lina Huarbe Botella. Find out more at www.nsvrc.org/SART Toolkit. Special thanks to Anna Price, Jessica Minlin, Sarah Deer, Lina Huarbe Botella, Annika Leonard, Amanda Tonkovich. Copyright National Sexual Violence Resource Center 2018. All rights reserved. This video was produced by Dash and Thompson under grant number 2015 VFGX-K003, awarded by the Office for Victims of Crime, Office of Justice Programs, U.S. Department of Justice. The opinions, findings, and conclusions or recommendations expressed in this video are those of the contributors and do not necessarily represent the official position or policies of the U.S. Department of Justice.